of people have this question, and that is how do I choose a wheelchair? How do I do that? And there is an answer. It's not an easy one. It's not an easy one. So it isn't just about moving from point A to point B, really. It's about comfort, safety, and freedom. Uh, if you're wondering how to pick the right one, I've got 6 tips for you, and it will make the process a lot easier. So, hello, everyone. My name is Lisa, and every Friday on this channel, we have a master class in which we touch on specific points on how to do something or to increase a skill. This one is about choosing a wheelchair. So there are 6 points in this video. So welcome to you. Every Friday we have a master class. So welcome, and let's get on with the video here. So you don't have to rack your brain, because I did. I had no idea what I was doing. So, the first point is to consult with your doctor. And this is because there's pros and cons of using a wheelchair. If you're going to use a wheelchair, there's issues with circulation, muscle strength, and, depending on if you get a manual wheelchair or a power wheelchair, there's other issues. So you really want to talk to your doctor about this first to make sure that you are in a space, in a moment, in a time that is right for you to begin to use a wheelchair. So, first always start with your doctor and or occupational therapist if you have one already, and talk about a wheelchair and see what they think about that possibility. They understand your condition sometimes better than we do and can recommend whether a manual or a power wheelchair for you. Again, when I was in therapy the first time in a long time, the therapist said, what kind of wheelchair do you think you need? And I said, well, the only chair I know is manual, because that's where I started, with the manual wheelchair. And she said, uh-uh. And I said, and she said, yeah, your shoulders are pretty far gone, and a manual wheelchair would really hurt you rather than benefit you. So then, my mind was swimming because I knew nothing about power wheelchairs. So, so it's really important to discuss this with someone who really knows you or will get to know you, because sometimes your primary will refer you to a therapist to do the wheelchair evaluation and see if you really qualify through insurance here in the United States and in other countries that use insurance. Then you have to qualify. You have to have a diagnosis that is sufficient to say, yes, this person qualifies for a wheelchair. So that is like the first step. So don't skip your primary, don't skip your therapist, so you can get this on the road in the right direction. All right, step 2, consider finances. So are you going to pay for it yourself, or are you going to go through insurance? So you have to start balancing one and the other. And if you do insurance, how much would you still owe? Because insurance companies, depending on which one you have, if you have a primary and a secondary, it'll be covered by one and the other. But if you only have one, then you have to cover the 20%. If your deductible is open, then, so it's all of that you have to look at. So second, think about your budget. Wheelchairs can be expensive. They are expensive. But insurance or Medicare may cover part of the cost. So if you only have Medicare, they'll cover 80%. Also remember the extras. Maintenance, repairs, accessories can all add up. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Match to your needs is number 3. So number 3, you really want to, I can't tell you how frustrated I've been when I see someone in a wheelchair that does not fit them. So, you know, and it's not appropriate for them. So, do you spend more time indoors or outdoors? Now, I'm gonna tell you something here that Medicare will not approve a wheelchair if you only use it outdoors. It really has to be for indoors. You really have to have the need for the wheelchair indoors and outdoors. So, do you want a manual wheelchair for exercise and flexibility, or a power wheelchair for more independence and long distance? So, this is the big question. And again, you have to consider your needs, and your therapist will consider your needs. So, indoors. So if you don't need it for indoors, Medicare is not going to approve it if you're on Medicare. And that's an insurance here in the United States. So just to clarify there. So try before you buy. You have that option to try a couple of wheelchairs that you see or that were recommended, so you can try before you buy. And that's really important. Number 4, get the right fit, please. Really. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people in wheelchairs or scooters that do not fit them. They're either too tall, or they're very small, or it's just out of proportion, the size compared to the person. So every wheelchair really goes to the size of the person, the weight, the measurements of how tall you are, and your butt. So how wide you need that seat to be, how long your legs are. So it goes according to very specific measurements. So this is really important for you to know that everything is measured. Your feet, your legs, your tallness, your weight, so all of that. The wrong fit can cause long-term health issues, pain, so make sure it's the size is correct for your body type. And the technician for wheelchairs, the person who's selling the wheelchairs, will take all those measurements, or the therapist will take all those measurements and give them to the company where you will be ordering the wheelchair. So that's number 4 is really important. 5 is accessories. And you're thinking, accessories, Lisa? Yes, every wheelchair has accessories. For instance, there was a gal on the channel who couldn't get out of her home. She had serious COPD, and so she was completely dependent on people doing her errands and everything else for her. And when I mentioned that wheelchairs, people could also qualify for wheelchairs for special conditions like heart conditions or COPD, that sparked her to go talk to her doctors. She got a wheelchair. She got a support bracket for her tank, and she's out there now. She's doing her own errands, her own grocery shopping. So she took off like a rocket. So that's important, They can put a support for a bracket for your cane, for a walker, or for an oxygen tank. They can put on a charger for your phone. They can put a phone holder on your wheelchair, a cup holder. So there's all kinds of, you got to list what's important to you. Also, the footrest. What kind of footrest do you need? Is it the flat kind or the swing away? What are you safest with? Now, on my next wheelchair, whenever that happens, I will need the swing away footrest because one, my balance, two, my legs are too weak to pull up the flat footrest. So I really need the swing away. So we will be changing that for the swing away footrest. So there's all kinds of accessories that you can ask the technician and kind of make a list before you even touch base with the technician. Keep that little list handy. Style and safety. So this is, no, that's number 6. So, and finally, this is like the last one, but it's also important. Choose colors, accents, designs that you feel like it's you. You can personalize the wheelchair. Believe it or not, your chair is part of your personality. So, if you're into artsy kind of stuff, but make sure it is safe. Safety comes first. Brakes, anti-tippers, and seatbelts are all the must. And you might say, wait, Lisa, back up. What are anti-tippers? What do you eat that with? So anti-tippers are used a lot with manual wheelchairs. And those go in the back when you're learning your skills for the manual wheelchair. You have anti-tippers in the back so that when you start practicing your wheelies, that those anti-tippers are there to make sure you don't fall backwards and hit your head. So it's those kind of seatbelts you don't want to use on manual wheelchairs, but they're really important on power wheelchairs. Also, brackets are very important for manual wheelchairs and power wheelchairs because when you go into a van, you go into a bus, they need to strap you down. So they hook the straps onto something, and you really don't want it to be wrapped around the legs of your wheels. So the brackets take off that pressure of the wheelchair, and the brackets take on that they're the stronghold of the wheelchair and make sure that the wheelchair doesn't get damaged. So brackets are also very important for safety reasons, and seat belts for power wheelchairs, so it's just those details that are important to discuss with the technician. And if you're going through this the first time, it can be overwhelming. So to have that list is really helpful. So number 1, consult with your doctor. Number 2, finances. 3, match to your health needs. Get the right fit for your size. 5, accessories. 6, style and safety. So those are the 6 points that are really important to keep in your pocket, keep nearby if you're going to discuss wheelchairs any further after you've spoken to your doctor. It is a process. It does take a little bit to get all this in place and for you to finally receive your new wheelchair. So, even if I update my wheelchair, then, I have to go through the same process I went through when I was a new wheelchair recipient of a power wheelchair. This time around, I'll know more because I've been through the process and I know what I need and what I don't need this time. So anyway, at the end of the day, the right wheelchair is the one that fits you, fits your body, your needs, and your lifestyle. So take your time, ask the questions, any question No question is a dumb question. Don't be afraid to test out different options. You deserve a wheelchair that works for you, not against you, for you. So I'm hoping these tips will be helpful for your next steps in looking at, the wheelchair and making sure you make the right choice. So, uh, for your size and your health need. Sometimes we don't have that choice. We're in the hospital, the crisis happened, and we get sent home with a heavy duty medical wheelchair. But after that, we can request a formal wheelchair that'll fit our need. So don't worry about that so much. Be in touch with a therapist, and she'll help you through that process to get the right wheelchair for you. All right, folks, if you have any questions or you want to add a suggestion for people looking into a new wheelchair, write it down below and they'll add it to their list. All right, folks, be safe, take care, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Feel free to like this video if it was helpful to you, and subscribe if you want to receive more videos. All right, and look down below or up above to see what the next video is that might be helpful for you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.